Hi, parents. It's Kelly Pfeiffer with Think It Through Parenting, and today I'm interviewing the Executive Director of the Positive Discipline Association, Kelly Gfroerer. I will introduce her and her credentials later, but I want her to go ahead and start with her story. So I asked her to tell us a story to start out with, a story about using a positive discipline tool. Kelly, go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. So when I was a very frazzled graduate student studying positive discipline in my graduate school classrooms, I heard about the tool asking versus telling. And so one of the things when I had a new baby and a 2-year-old and 4-year-old, and a husband that was away a lot for his training in pediatrics, I struggled with the morning routine, getting out the door, and then also bedtime routine. So I found really simple questions, even when my kids did not have developed language yet. They weren't able to respond verbally. If I asked questions versus telling them what they needed to do next, I got such amazing results. It was like golden nuggets. So simple things like what needs to be on your feet, or what do you need to get for us to be in the car, or would you like Cheerios or oatmeal? Very simple. Asking questions changed the whole structure of the morning, and we were on time. So.
And then, I mean, you were noticing before you used this, you were doing the telling? Is that what you were trying before?
I was doing the telling, and I was doing way more for them in that rushed mode of we need to be out the door and on time, usually because I would try to get my boys when they were 2 and 4 to preschool and back home again to nurse. And so I would be, as I said, kind of frazzled and, kind of rush, which is the culture today. But just slowing down and asking the question helped them process what they needed to do versus probably me raising their stress level. And then they weren't even able to think it through. So just that simple shifting of asking put them in the doing mode and made it where they could think through and do it on their own, and became much more independent. As my oldest is in high school now, and I think he can get up and be out the door in 10 minutes.
Wow. That's pretty unusual for a teenager, actually.
Yes. So that really worked. And I was reading about positive discipline in one of my graduate school courses, and just thought, it really spoke to me in terms of not only how I could use it in counseling and helping as a school counselor or working with parents, but in my own life. So.
All right. So parents, I want to tell you more about Kelly Gfroerer. She is the co-author of the book. Is it Positive Discipline Tools for Teachers?
Yes.
And you wrote that with Jane Nelson, the author of Positive Discipline. And also you have your Ph.D. in counseling education.
Yes, I do. So there's psychology degrees, and you train to be a clinical psychologist, but my graduate program was really focused on prevention and mental health and family systems theory. And so we studied very intensely Alfred Adler, who developed the psychological theory positive discipline is based on, which Jane does a great job covering in all her books, kind of the origins of the theory. And so, I came to it as from a theoretical perspective, and then discovered how practical the tools were.
All right. So I want you to introduce your book to parents. Do you have a copy there? Because I don't think I have a copy of your book.
It's Positive Discipline Tools for Teachers, and each tool is designed to meet all of the 5 criteria of positive discipline, with the major focus is it's teaching a skill, building connection, and effective long-term, as well as just in general helping motivate that intrinsic motivation versus the being where the adult is always needed in place to motivate or teach a lesson. And so each tool there's 52 tools, and there's actually a tool card deck that goes with the book that can be used. I don't have a copy yet. There you go.
I have the teacher tool cards here.
And so it really is looking at effective classroom management strategies for teachers to use Asking versus telling is one of the 52 that will, again, build life skills and help make classroom management more manageable because the student develops self-control and the group learns to problem solve together versus the teacher always having to be overworked and overstressed managing the classroom. And the same model in terms of all the tools are also parenting tools. And so it's a great way for parents and teachers to work together and be completely on the same page about how to structure and discipline and teach children, again, all these wonderful life skills.
So my main audience is parents, and I talk mostly about these positive discipline tools for parents. These are the parent ones, these are the teacher tool cards. And so some parents, you may not know that there is a whole curriculum, positive discipline in the classroom, and it goes along, it's based on all of these 52 tool cards. So just wanted to point that out to the parents. So Kelly, tell us a little bit more about writing this book. What's your favorite part of the book, or what was your favorite part about writing the book?
Well, it was a great experience to write with Jane, who is so experienced in teaching little tricks about reading it aloud to see if it really makes sense, which I think helped bring clarity to what we were sharing with teachers. But my favorite sections of the book, so we have the theory, the Adlerian theory, then we have tool tips and teacher examples, and then what the research says. And again, because I came at this originally from a theoretical research standpoint, the greatest gift was being able to integrate what works practically, and I see parents and teachers have so much success with, and the theoretical research piece. And we tried to present the research in a very easy, just clear one paragraph. This is what the research says. It's at the end of each chapter. But it was a joyful process to bring those two things together and then also write with Jane.
So is there a part of the research that might be good for parents to know if you had to pick one piece that maybe relates to parents? Is there something useful for them in this book?
Absolutely. There's a lot about encouraging words and encouragement versus praise. And so we highlighted Carol Dweck's research. She talks about good praise versus bad praise, but her good praise is really encouragement, and that using positive discipline language, it's focused on the process, the effort. And so actually the research shows, not only at home but in the classroom, that when children experience feedback that is encouraging, that is again focused on their effort, specificity, that they develop that internal self-talk and all those skills that we hope kids will develop, like perseverance, resiliency. It helps develop those muscles. And so that is just one example of pulling research from the field to show how each positive discipline tool is effective long-term.
Okay, so what if parents are really excited to hear that there's a positive discipline curriculum for the classroom, and they wish their child's teacher would maybe look at positive discipline or start using some of those tools? What can parents do to encourage teachers? Just because, parents don't want to tell teachers how to do their jobs, of course. What can parents do to support teachers or help teachers learn more about positive discipline?
Well, I think in the parent-teacher conference is a great place to tell your child's teacher what's working for you at home. If you find these tools effective, I was a classroom teacher and a school counselor, and so especially if I was having trouble or struggling reaching a child or creating that relationship, hearing about what works at home, I found that not only myself as a teacher, but teachers I worked with would you would see them, writing down every nugget of what's being shared because they want to know and do what works. So I think sharing your personal experience and then also sharing with the principal, the value of the program and the value of having one common language for teachers and parents to use. So if you have a trainer or can share any online resources with the administrators or school leadership, kind of on a more whole school level, that can be helpful, but then also just with your child's individual teacher, your children's individual teachers, sharing about what works. So.
Okay, and if parents want, thank you for that. And then because yeah, I think I would be nervous to tell a teacher like what to do in school, but if I'm sharing it from here's what works at home,
Exactly.
that just seems like it's much more, it will, I don't know, it will be received in a much more helpful way.
Yes.
So thank you for that tip. And then if parents want to find out more either about positive discipline or positive discipline in the classroom, where can they go online? What online resources are available?
So the Positive Discipline Association is a nonprofit focused on getting the word out about where parenting classes are located, as well as our core workshops that are for teacher training and also parent educator training. There's also positivediscipline.com. And if you sign up for a newsletter, you actually, the newsletter format right now is a tool card challenge, tool of the week. And so at the beginning of each week, usually on Mondays, we had a holiday yesterday, so it came out today, there will be a parent and a teacher tool of the week. And that is a really helpful way to be intentional about practicing these tools. And so when I work with schools or parents, I recommend signing up for that. And it is super helpful, again, to get that reminder. Here's a tool of the week. Here's something I can practice. And I know several parents who have shared that with their teacher, their child's teacher, or the school principal to say, hey, here's an online free resource that's going to come to you weekly and be a tool that has the tool card image, as well as, you know, some tips for the week on how to use that tool and personal stories of parents and teachers. And so that is a great online resource. And then classes like what you're offering is another amazing way that Positive Discipline trainers, as well as Jane Nelson, the founder of Positive Discipline in Lynn-Lott, provide online services.
So if parents want to sign up for this newsletter, the once a week newsletter, which website, where should they go to do that?
If you go to positivediscipline.com, and in the upper right hand corner, you can sign up for the newsletter. And what you get from that is that weekly tool tip. And you can click on parents or teachers, or I look at both. And then also, if there are upcoming events, the Positive Discipline Conference, or things in your area, you will get a reminder about, or a notice, and then a reminder about those upcoming events. So it's high quality, there's no ads, it's just helpful information in terms of things you can do daily, or if there are trainings or conferences.
And again, Kelly Gfroerer is the executive director of the Positive Discipline Association. So I just want to remind parents about that. And then lastly, what is your favorite positive discipline tool? Out of all these tools, there's parenting tools, teacher tools, and many of them are similar, but what's your favorite tool?
So I think, other than asking versus telling, which, I mean, it was probably my first exposure of success, is that overriding principle of encouragement and using encouraging words. But bringing it all together is the family or class meeting, because those are opportunities on a regular basis, either at school in a class meeting or at home, to practice all the different tools, giving compliments, showing appreciation, problem solving. And so often I hear parents and teachers say, well, we don't have time to do that, but it will save you time in the long run, because the life skills and relationship skills that children learn as they're involved in the process of a family meeting or a class meeting really provide lifelong, really important skills for when they are struggling. They're really learning coping skills of, if I take time, take a step back, then join in the group discussion when I'm not in having a stress response or in the moment of the problem, then I can work together with the people who I live with or at school work with to solve the problem together. So I used to say as a school counselor, if I did nothing else but teach the students and the faculty, if we calm down and take a little bit, we can come together and work together to solve the problem. And it's the same for home. And so I know everyone is so busy and there's so many pressures, but just taking a few minutes every week to go use the positive discipline family meeting model would help you practice all the tools and really set a ground as early as possible in your family to make sure that you're communicating that we value our time together, we're connected in a meaningful way, I will listen to you, and we will work this out together.
And parents, if you want to learn more about positive discipline family meetings, they may be different from what a family meeting that you've experienced as a child. Some people tell me, oh, our family meeting meant that we had all done something bad and our parents were going to sit there and tell us what we had done wrong. And so if you want to learn more, there's plenty of articles online about positive discipline family meetings, which are encouraging and focused on problem solving.
And finding solutions. And what you'll discover if you involve yourself in the process is that when your kids solve their problems and have a voice, then there's more buy-in for sticking with the solution or problem solving if it doesn't work, and going back to it and trying to figure it out. And that develops stick-to-itiveness and, again, that idea of if we come together, we can find a solution that will work. So yeah, it's highly recommended. The times that hasn't gone well for me and my own family, it's been too long or too adult-centered. So it's really important to stick to the positive discipline family meeting model. And as long as you do that, I think that kids enjoy it and get a lot out of it. But as you mentioned, Kelly, if it becomes about lecturing or a platform to have parental control, then that is when sometimes you will not get good buy-in.
So it's almost time to wrap up, but I've heard you say several things about letting children solve problems and possibly struggle through the process of solving problems. So could you talk about that just a little bit more for our closing discussion, that lots of times parents think of a parenting tool as my child has this problem, I use the tool, it's all gone and we're done, and that's how it works. And that's not how it works really. So can you speak to that aspect of the process, and that struggling and that the process of learning is involved in struggle sometimes?
Yeah, so letting your child develop that disappointment muscle or struggling is sometimes hard. And Rudolf Dreikurs, who is a leading Adlerian and worked closely with Alfred Adler, and it's mentioned many times in the Positive Discipline book series, had a great quote: "Never do for a child what he or she can do for themselves." And that is a good principle to live by, because when we do too much or go in and rescue, then the message is, I don't think you can figure it out on your own, really, or I don't have faith in you to figure it out, so I need to do it for you. So it's counterintuitive a little bit in terms of, we get in there and we're supposed to parent, and as they develop and grow, to consistently assess what your child can do for themselves or his or herself is really, really important, because everything that they can do for themselves in terms of solving problems, figuring things out, even getting dressed. Usually parents actually dress their children many, many months or years, longer than is needed. And so letting them struggle, take time for training, take time to listen and give feedback, but then let children do everything they possibly can do for themselves.
And I think that is really difficult for parents at times, to let go and let the child do it, because the child won't do it as well at first. Yes.
And we are in a culture right now that is very rushed. And so sometimes to save a few minutes, we will squelch that independence or that ability to try. And so the more we can take a step back and say, it may take longer this time, but the payoff long term is that sense of independence is super important. And it's hard. And I catch myself still constantly doing too much or needing to reflect on, or these things in our daily schedule even that they could do for themselves. And so constantly at each developmental age and stage, looking at, are there more things that my child could figure out and do on their own? Then that will, I think, create all different life skills and coping resourcefulness that you are looking for in your child.
Thank you so much, Kelly Gfroerer, and she is also a licensed professional counselor. I don't really think I mentioned that either. So you have a wealth of education and background that you bring to your work as the Executive Director of the Positive Discipline Association. And I thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And parents, if you want to get the book, Kelly, will you hold it up one more time? I'm Kelly and she's Kelly. So Positive Discipline Tools for Teachers, and also the tool cards you can get as a printed set or as an app on your phone. I just looked it up. It's $4.99 at your app store to get the tool cards. And the book and the tool cards are sold separately. So thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you.